Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech live on YouTube. I hope you're having a fantastic start to iPhone 14 month. Excuse me, some weirdos out there keep calling it. Is my mic peaking for no reason? How do I sound? I hope you're having a fantastic... Okay, OBS is just having a weird indicator day. But yeah, we've officially entered September. We already have our invite, so we know that iPhone 14 unveil should be less than a week away now. That means less than 7 days. Actually, less than 6 days if we're talking 24 hours. The event will be over by now. Ryan is referring to it as Apple Watch 8 Pro month. Do you think they're going to call it 8 Pro or just... I thought similar to how we have iPad Pro and MacBook Pro, it would just be Apple Watch Pro. And this is going to be referred to as Gen 1, and then next year there will be Gen 2 and what have you. Techtember has begun, Ethan, correct? Haven't been able to sleep. You probably should try to sleep before September 7th. I hope you can get there. Oh, I'm sorry, Urasawa. Some weirdos call it September. I call it iPhone month. This is just officially iPhone month from here on out. This is not September anymore. I don't know why people refer to it as that. I just started my hour break at work, didn't check notifications, but happened to see you live on my sub feed. Hey, glad you can make it, Alami. Welcome back. I changed my hair. What did I do? I think it was the same as yesterday, but what's probably going to be more noticeable than my hair is this freaking camera... True depth camera system on the front of our phones is no longer going to be in the notch form, at least on the Pro line. It's going to be making its way down, and kind of a slight update from yesterday's report about how Apple wants to basically put indicator lights in between the two camera sensors slash Face ID sensors. They're allegedly supposed to be brighter than the rest of the display, which I almost wonder if it would be a tad distracting if you were, like, I don't know, watching a FaceTime call or having a FaceTime call. I don't know why you just watch one. Or watching a video or using something with the mic or camera late at night and you have the brightness low. I guess those lights are supposed to be pretty dang bright. Oh, Ebert says he'll be in surgery during the event. Man, I hope you're okay. I hope the surgery goes well. Thank you for your support, Halami, as well. I have one of these. Excited. Good. This will probably be... I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty confident that this might be my last live stream before we do the reaction stream on Wednesday. Yes, I plan on live streaming my reaction. No, I cannot show the event. Apple will not let me. And also... I probably will start streaming 2 hours before the event begins. What do I think of the pill? I don't love it, to be honest. I've tried the little trick, the little screenshot I tweeted out that someone made. Who was it? I think it's Rishi. So you basically, if you go to my Twitter and you find one of the more recent retweet pictures I did, if you hold the phone upside down, guys! I have an iPhone 14 already. It's right here. Look at that. So it'll basically look like that. To me, it like obviously cuts in on the content a little bit more. And I know that a lot of people have already seen it and said, it's not that bad, or I could get used to it. But like, if that's all really the phone's got going for it, you know, I don't want to spend $1,200 on not that bad, you know. Like, honestly... This is a good way to compare the two. There's the notch. There's the pill hole. I don't know. Like, it's different. I'll give it credit for that. You know, you'll be able to turn on your iPhone 14 and just be like, yep, that's the 14 Pro. It's not the 13 Pro anymore. And yeah, I ran some polls, actually, and similar to what Max Herman is saying, a lot of people prefer the eye hole, surprisingly, even though it's not even out, and it might never be out. It might not even be a thing. I don't really see it as being more uniform, because if you're against there being like useless pixels in between two objects, then why move it down, you know? Like, if you're against there being dead space between the two and you want it to look more uniform, then this is more uniform, because then there's less useless pixels above your camera system. So I still kind of prefer this look, to be honest, but I get that it's probably something anybody could get used to. Thank you, Ben Rayner, for the super chat. He says, happy iPhone month for non-tech fans. I guess September, awesome month iPhone month is. Yeah, we should have Oh, you know, it's just something I noticed that's kind of funny. He put September 7th for the date on this screenshot, which is so appropriate. And 9:41, the iPhone time. Martingale says he'll be in an exam when the event is happening. It'll be the first Apple event that I won't watch live after 3 years. Oof! What a streak you had going. You should get some free iCloud storage for that awesome streak. What color would you get for your review? It does not look like graphite is an option, which is weird. Where did you see that? I didn't see that. I saw some sources claiming that they were going to replace Sierra Blue with a light purple, but I haven't seen anything saying that graphite won't be an option. If I'm only getting it for review, I'd probably just get purple. Purple's my wife's favorite color, and she does not want to upgrade her phone, but maybe if my wife could be convinced, maybe if she saw it and decided she wanted it, she would take the purple one, I guess. Raphael, thank you for becoming a channel supporter. I will catch you in the next member stream. People got used to the eye hole. I guess so, but I also just think design philosophy-wise, I can understand what Apple would be going for if the eye hole is true, which there's still chance that the eye hole might actually be real. I mean, technically it's not happening. It's just via software they're deciding to deactivate the little space between the two cameras. So I kind of detailed that in my last video, but like, to me, design philosophy-wise, the eye hole is like, okay, we're trying to cram as many pixels on the front of the device as possible. It doesn't matter if they're useful, obviously. Even if you do the pill, you're not going to put any data or any content on these tiny pixels right here. It's not functionally going to add anything. We already got our battery percentage back, so that's not what we're looking for. I guess functionally the argument is, oh, well, the camera and microphone indicators will be in the notch now instead. But I mean, we already have those. Thank you, Trash Teen, for your continued support. Hoping it's not an on-stage event. They felt slow. I don't think it will be, but the reason they announced it 2 weeks in advance, I do think it means it will be similar to the launch of, the Dub event, where there were a bunch of people that got to watch it at Apple in person. Like, they had a bunch of people on campus, but it was still a virtual event. They were watching it on a big screen. But my theory is after the event is over, they're going to want to show the iPhone hardware to the media. So MKBHD will probably be there. The Verge will probably be there. You know, all of the usual suspects of people on Tim Cook's nice list that get to check out Apple hardware early. Those people will probably get hands-on videos rather than having to ship iPhone hardware to them. Or at least they'll hand them the hardware. That way they don't have to ship embargo units through the public mail service. Joey says, I'm surprised you didn't get an invite. Really? I would be so shocked if I got an invite. For one, I've never gotten invites, but after all of the... oh my god! You can do that? What the heck? Chris gifted 5 Tailosive Tech memberships. Wow. That's very generous of you. I needed to come up with an animation for that. I've never seen someone do that. So I guess 5 people got memberships for the channel. That's cool. I didn't... I'm learning things about YouTube right now. Got the MacBook Air, but returned it because it just did not feel worth it. No, it should have listened. Switched it out for a 14-inch M1 Pro, which was on sale at Best Buy. Yes, Jeff, I saw that. Best Buy had a sale for the 14-inch MacBook Pro, $15.99. Oh my god, it was a complete and total steal. So yeah, I'm glad you picked that one up. That's a much better laptop. Anyway, with all of the skits I've been doing and all of the jokes about Tim and Craig and everything, I consider that bridge burned. I mean, Apple already has a bunch of people that they are willing to invite to things. And even when I wasn't doing the skits, they weren't inviting me. But I knew, like, oh, look at all these people. Bayer, Matthew, Robert, Vedran, Darren, all you guys, thank you so much for picking up Chris's donation. We're going to get a bunch of AirPower notifications now. There's a couple of new people invited. Yeah, I just know, I've kind of just come to accept all the AirPower. I've just kind of come to accept that I'm a loose cannon and I don't probably say the things Apple wants me to say. Do these people get just selected at random for the memberships? I don't know how it works, but that's so cool. Very nice of you, Chris. Thanks for doing that. Now there's some more people can join in on the member streams. I remember seeing that option somewhere. I think it's nice. Option Command Media. Thank you for the super chat. iPhone month, more like pumpkin spice month. Yeah. Did you see Randy's video about pumpkin spice? Hello, welcome new members. Apple peaked at iPhone 12, total stagnation after this. If you think this is stagnation, then there's pretty much only going to be stagnation from here on out. I guess it's random. iJustine is on the top of Apple's nice list. Yeah, you know what I've noticed? And I've talked to people about this in the YouTube space. When you get embargo units, when you get units early and stuff, you have to sign contracts. They're not going to just send you that and hope that you don't leak it out or anything. You have to agree to contracts, and those contracts are typically fairly Oh my god. What are you guys doing? Ethan gifted. You better stop giving away the membership. There's going to be all these people. You're going to set off the air power. Maybe someone just wants to hear the air power animation go off and on. But thank you so much, Ethan. That was incredibly generous of you. Ethan Dabish is being awfully generous. And we're going to get a bunch of new channel members in the chat today. If you just want me to play the air power sound, I can just play it. That's a lot cheaper than you guys donating. All right. Generosity overload. No more super chats. No more donations for the rest of the stream, or I'll mute you. Everybody member, yeah. We're going to get a bunch of air power sounds. Basically, there's contracts you have to sign with those embargoes, and I'm fairly sure... Okay, I can't speak on too much, but I'm fairly sure that they ask you to stick to certain topics. And you have to say certain things, and you have to say them in a certain way. And I don't think Apple likes a lot of my videos because often I am not telling people to buy the latest and greatest thing. And a lot of channels like to... Here we go. It's already starting. A lot of people love to just... Let's detail, okay, the iPad Air. Here's its new features. Here's what it can do. Here's its camera capabilities, whatever. So you can do that. I think I can mute the air power sounds if they get annoying. When everyone on the chat is a member, no one is. We're going to make this a members-only stream. So a lot of the time, Apple will do something and I don't like it. And I want to say something, you know. I want to be like, hey, I think what they did here is stupid. And, you know, certain channels are big enough they can say whatever they want. You know, like, if you have over 10 million subscribers or over 2 million subscribers, you can get away with saying whatever you want because you're big enough that Apple just wants to have you. And they want to maintain a good relationship with you because you have a lot of power. But at the same time, these younger channels or these smaller channels, they're trying to maintain a relationship with Apple. And if they don't say the right things, and if they don't stick to the script or stick to what the embargo says, then they can get kicked out. And they probably have seen my videos and heard me talk about, no, you shouldn't buy the new iPad, buy a certified refurbished, or telling people to buy used, or buy last year's model. Or they see me act all crazy with the skits, or they see me basically say whatever I want, which is what I love about my job, is I can just kind of say what I'm thinking. And I have a feeling that if I had to abide by those embargoes, I would likely not get to say whatever I want. And I think that would make it less honest. And I don't have the best camera quality on my YouTube channel, and I probably don't have the most technological insight. I don't go into the most depth of any channel. So if I don't have cinematography, and I don't have the best, acting, or if I don't have the best tech specs, or the most in-depth testing and side-by-sides, I don't buy every model of MacBook and compare them. What do I got? I think all I've got going for me at Tailosive Tech is my personality and my honest opinion. So hopefully the comedic aspect of a lot of my videos is entertaining to you. I know it's not entertaining to everyone, or at least my perspective on tech, which is just comes from my honesty, basically. That's all I got. So if I start signing contracts, or if I start abandoning that, I think I'll just blend in with the crowd. And there's enough channels that get early units and review units that I don't think I would say any... I wouldn't be able to say much different from what everyone else is saying, because you have to sign the contract. Thank you for the super chat, Option Command Media. Thoughts on pumpkin spice? Yeah, it's pretty good. I haven't had it recently, but Bayer is a member now. Who else became a member? AJSR was gifted a membership. Nice. Glacian Studios. Ebert Morales, Elizabeth, and Joey. Oh, Joey Z was already one. But thank you all, you guys. And NP is also a member now. Thank you all for joining. Brandon Price, Pratyush Thaplile. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. KYB Convo, Charlie Beeger, and Jimmy Starf. All you guys, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. You did a skit where you did a chokehold on Tim Cook because iPadOS. Yeah, you're probably on Tim Cook's naughty list. I think I was on the naughty list before then, but still, yeah, it's. I considered that bridge burned. I'm not trying to maintain a relationship with them because I honestly don't think getting products early would do that much for my channel anyway, considering how many channels get stuff early these days. I don't like black coffee, but if you load up coffee with a bunch of sugar and cream, I'll probably enjoy it. If you make coffee taste not like coffee, I'll enjoy it. Jimmy Starf says, I seriously don't understand this island/pill hole. You would think they would try to push the notch towards the top and keep making it thinner and thinner until it's part of the top bezel. Yeah, I know. I really didn't mind the notch on my 12 mini, if you recall. If I go back and watch my review of the 12 mini, even that notch was very wide, but it didn't cut in on content very much. And it worked. You know, I got used to it. And it seems like every time they redesign the notch, they push it down a little bit further. It makes it cut into your content a little bit deeper, which is honestly not the direction I want it to go in. I want it to get shorter, you know. I want it to be out of the way and completely gone. So, yeah, it's like... It feels like Apple is just redesigning it so that they can say that the new iPhone 14, you know, it's just a marketing thing because it looks different. It looks more, I guess you could say modern, but functionally and aesthetically, I don't really think it helps with anything. I will skip the iPhone 14 this year for the first time. I don't like the pill hole design. My first iPhone was the iPhone 4. I have the 13 Pro today. Regards from Norway. Hey, thanks for tuning in from Norway. Yeah, I'm also, for the first time in, how long has it been? I did not buy the 6S. I bought the 6. Before that, I bought the 5. So I wasn't getting S years for a while, but then once YouTube picked up, I started upgrading every year. So I got the 7, I got the 8, and then the 10, and then the, you know, every iPhone after that. So Unreal Cousins also became a supporter. Oh my God, so many new members today. Too much generosity. You better stop. Seriously. So yeah, I think this will be my first time in like 5 years? Yeah, 2017. No, before that. 6 years. Maybe 7 years that I haven't upgraded to the newest iPhone. But thank you so much, Unreal Cousins. And Ben Rayner for the super chat. Too many donations today. You guys better calm down. I'd rather you be honest and share your honest reviews rather than getting your reviews first and ahead of time. I like your integrity and honesty. Thank you, Ben. Well, that's what I hope at least a lot of you appreciate. So I'm grateful that you value that. And you didn't need to super chat, but thanks anyway, Ben. Maybe Apple is trying to simplify the names of their devices like iPhone 14, 14 Plus, 14 Pro, 14 Max. I hope that's the case, but there's been no indication that Apple is considering calling it the 14 Max. Everything is pointing towards 14 Pro Max at this point, which I still just think having a Plus and a Max is confusing. I think it would have been easier to just have the 14 Max and then the 14 Pro Max because Apple's already been doing the Pro Max. So, like, that would have made more sense consistency-wise. But if there's anything consistent about the iPhone lineup naming scheme, it's the inconsistency. It's how so much they've changed it over the years. First it was the S years, then they did the 10R, and we asked Phil Schiller, what does the R stand for? And he's like, nothing. It's just R. It's just we just needed a letter. And then after that, iPhone 11. And then when 11 came out, then they introduced the Pro, and now we're getting into Pro Max. And then after that, we're now going back to Plus, which we haven't seen since the iPhone 8 in 5 years. So, yeah, it's just weird. They changed their mind left and right with the iPhone naming scheme. It's really hard to track down. Margel says, what are the odds that the entire iPhone 13 lineup will be discontinued, including the 13 mini? My friend thinks it's very likely, considering the differences are even smaller compared to the 12 and 13. I don't think they're that small, to be honest. The more I think about it, like, if we let's ignore the 14 Plus for a second, okay? That's the new size, and I think that's going to be the best seller. It's probably going to have great battery life and a big display, which I think are the two biggest things that iOS users care about, or at least iPhone buyers care about. They want the big screen and they want the big battery life. So I would, if we're just talking about the 14, the front-facing camera is supposed to get autofocus and better low light. The ultra-wide lens is supposed to be better at night mode photography. So an improved camera on the front and back of the regular iPhone 14. It will now have 6 gigs of RAM instead of 4. It'll now have a 5-core GPU instead of a 4-core GPU. Technically, yes, it's still the A15 chip, but there are still spec enhancements. And maybe new color. You'll probably get a purple color that will make a lot of splashes in the marketing department. What else is it? Wi-Fi 6E, better connectivity, perhaps. So those features might stand out a bit. But I thought the same thing last year. I thought the iPhone 13 series, 13 and 13 mini, were going to be way too similar to the 12 and the 12 mini. So I thought they were going to discontinue the entire iPhone 12 lineup, but they didn't, and they kept both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and assume at least one iPhone 13 will stay. Maybe they kill off the 13 mini, but I wouldn't be like, it doesn't sound right to me because they're not replacing the mini with anything. You know, the iPhone 14 base model is going to be $829 if there's no price hike. Someone said it'll be $750, but even if that's true, I would rather go into it not thinking that's possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume there will not be a price reduction, especially when... Why would there be a price... Like, if Apple cared about market share with the iPhone 14 lineup, why would they raise the price of the iPhone SE? Like, that's the budget iPhone. And they could have at least kept the price the same on there. But they intentionally chose to raise the price of the SE because of the inflationary environment we're in and because the cost of materials and everything has gone up. So if the SE is getting a price hike, I have a very hard time believing the iPhone 14 will get a price reduction. If it ends up happening, I'll be really happy and very surprised. But I'm just going to assume that leak is wrong. So at bare minimum, let's assume the iPhone 14 starts at $829. Apple could probably keep selling the 13 mini for $729. They don't even have to apply a price cut to it, and it would still be like probably the best phone you can buy at that form factor. If you want a mini iPhone, that's still going to be there. And I would still love it. And I think a lot of people would still love it. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the 13 and 13 mini to stay in the lineup, possibly at a discounted rate. And I'm sure the 13 Pros will go away. That's almost confirmed. I don't use confirmed very often, but I try never to use that until Apple announces it. But pretty much the last few years, they've always discontinued the larger, more expensive option after a year. They got rid of the 11 Pros after 1 year. They got rid of the 10Ss after 1 year. They got rid of the 12 Pros, and I'm sure they'll get rid of the 13 Pros. I'd be very surprised. If you apply any price reduction to everyone would just buy this. That's why you discontinue it. This phone is so amazing and arguably has the better camera cutout in the top and still has 120 hertz, still has great battery life. This is still an amazing phone, and honestly, a lot of you should probably just buy this over getting an iPhone 14. If you can find this for certified refurbished at a discounted rate, it's a great buy. iPhone Pro Max Extreme. Oh, that's right. That's the next term. Chris Norton says, what are we talking about? iPhone season. iPhones are coming out in less than a week. We've got 6 days until the iPhone 14 event. iPhone 15 Pro Big. That's a good one, Sora. Why don't they use the term big? I really wish they didn't discontinue the mini lineup. I know, me too. If we're all wrong all along and there ends up being an iPhone 14 mini, I'll be so happy. I won't buy it, but I'll be very happy. Yes, I do podcasts, David. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Every week we have a podcast, typically. This week I think it'll just be me and Mike. Randy's busy, but someone was asking about Nick. Ethan was like, how is Nick doing? Are you still talking regularly? Yes, I was just speaking with him the other day. He's probably going to be visiting me next month, actually, which I'm excited for. He's never visited me since I moved into this place. And he's meeting up with some friends in my area, and he wanted to meet up with me too. So we should be seeing him end of next month. So I'm excited to see him again. It's been far too long. Um, but yeah, he's very busy right now. He's basically working with Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. I don't know if you guys have watched the Everyday Astronaut YouTube channel, but he does incredibly in-depth videos. He's interviewed Elon Musk a bunch of times, and just amazing coverage of space content. And he's working with Tim, and he's also not Tim Cook, Tim Dodd, and he's also working with NASA Spaceflight, who's not affiliated with NASA, but they also cover SpaceX launches and SLS launch coming up and everything. So he's just very, very busy in the space field right now, to the point that he doesn't really have time to podcast. But he's always welcome back. Anytime he wants to join the podcast, he can. Elizabeth says the iPhone Pro has been at $1,000 for 4 years. No inflation over 4 years. What? There's definitely been some inflation. I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, they haven't always called it Pro, but yes, the iPhone 10 was $999, and everyone thought that was crazy and absurd. And then a few years go by, now it's the norm. Now we're all hoping it's $999. But that part of the keynote will definitely be like everyone at the edge of their seat, like, oh my god, they're gonna announce the price. Like, this is it. This is it. I have the 12 Pro Max, but I'm strongly considering upgrading. It's still a decent phone. I guess my only suggestion would be to try to recoup a lot of your resale value from your 12 Pro Max. Don't trade it in. Apple trade-in is a scam. What case do I use with my phone? You know the tech company Nothing? They actually make an iPhone case. And it looks really good because it's nothing, obviously. If I had a 12 Max, I would probably hold out for another year. Then you get USB-C, but ProMotion and increased battery life are obviously a nice benefit. Yeah, that's true. I do like my ProMotion, and I do love the battery life on this thing. Although I should post to you guys, or let you guys know, after almost a year of ownership, my battery health. It's 97. We better just throw the whole phone out at this point, right? No, it still gets me through the day fine, but yes, battery health has gone down a bit. Just a bit. I think I could easily get through the day with 80% because of how long the battery life is, but yeah, I've used this phone for a lot. So and I mostly charge it with MagSafe, but there's been some times I've needed to fast charge it, so I have. Not that often, just on trips and stuff when it's kind of hard to charge your phone because you're away from outlets for extended periods, and even overnight you're not charging the phone. On those situations I fast charge. But is this your last phone that you won't upgrade? No, it's not like I'm gonna own this iPhone for the rest of my life or something. But I'm not planning on upgrading to the 14 Pro Max just because I still enjoy my 13 Pro Max, and nothing really I've read about the 14 sounds that interesting that it would be worth the upgrade. I definitely am rooting for USB-C to make its way to the iPhone. I think that'll be great, but don't, like, like I said, I mostly charge my iPhone via MagSafe, so it's not like a tremendous big need for me to get Type-C. Like, it would be, I'm not saying I will buy the first iPhone with USB-C. I will probably hold on to my iPhone 13 even after that, depending on how it's holding up. And if they come up with something on the iPhone 15 that I think I could really utilize, then I'll do it. But we're pretty well certain we know most of what's going to come to the 14, and nothing really jumps out at me. What color are you going to pre-order, assuming the leaks are correct? Well, because I'm not planning on keeping the phone, and it's just for review, I'll probably get the purple one, just because that's going to be the new clean color that lets you know you have the new iPhone. Why aren't you using the Wi-Fi on the phone for the stream, I presume? Yeah, I think I noticed the bitrate was a little lower earlier, so to just give the modem some flexibility, I turned the Wi-Fi off. Plus, I have unlimited data, so I don't really care if it does a bunch of stuff on 5G. And I think I still have a ton of data left on my Mint plan. My battery health is at 75%. It says service, and I got the iPhone 11 the day it came out. Wow. Little Sonata's holding on for dear life. What do you think the trade-in value would be for the 12 Pro 128 gig after 14 Pro release? I don't know exactly, but it'll be too low. I would always recommend selling. Don't trade in. Trade-in is such a scam. They give you such terrible value. Probably like $300 or something like that. You could easily sell it for probably $500 or something. My 12 Pro Max is at 87%. Oh, here we go. Everyone's telling me their battery health. Cries with 93% battery health with my 13 mini. Wow. 93% already? The 13 mini came out less than a year ago. I'm kind of surprised you got it to 93. Sam Case's battery health on my 13 Pro is 97% after 10 months of ownership. Oh. See, that's interesting. I guess I'm about to hit 12 months, and we're at the same amount. JSD says, what would it take you to upgrade your iPhone 13 Pro Max? I know you're not looking to upgrade, but just theoretically, what would tempt you to upgrade your iPhone? For me, it would be a better thermal system. Yeah, nothing, like, occasionally my phone gets too hot, but it's not that common. Like, there were a few times I was FaceTiming outside over 5G, and it got hot and the brightness dimmed. It used to get kind of hot in the car, but now I got a new car, and I don't use Apple Maps on my phone anymore because the new car has maps built into it. It has its own GPS system. So I'm not even using my phone on navigation anymore. In fact, my new car has a wireless charger, so my phone just charges and sits there. So what would get me to upgrade? Basically, that's the dilemma I'm facing, is like, I can't think of anything that they could come up with that I would utilize that would be worth spending. Like, I don't need 8K. Night mode is great. Like, the main sensor on this phone is fantastic, and I'm definitely going to start using continuity camera more often once macOS Ventura comes out for the public. I've tested it on my iMac Pro a lot, and it works pretty well. I'm against putting betas on my main MacBook, so they would have to come up with something that I could say, yes, I would use that would be useful. And I can't think of anything. That's the problem. So when people are like asking, like, what could they do? I don't know. Maybe something like Apple Dex would be kind of fun. Like, hey, thank you, Jason, for the super chat. Which iPhone release were you most excited for? Probably iPhone 10. There was definitely a lot of hype leading up to that one, and my channel experienced a lot of growth leading up to it. So the reason that was kind of exciting was because when I started covering the iPhone 10 launch, which at the time we didn't know it was called iPhone 10. We called it the iPhone 8 back then. Way back then, I started doing leak videos on it, but I was not a full-time YouTuber yet. I was not doing this professionally. I was working at a mandarin ranch and doing YouTube on the side, and it was starting to pick up traction. I was starting to make a little bit of money, but it wasn't enough to live off of. And then around May of 2017 was when YouTube was getting enough attention. I was getting enough money from YouTube that I quit the Mandarin Ranch job to pursue YouTube full time. And then before the iPhone 10 launched, I was making enough off of YouTube that I moved out of my parents' house, which I had lived in for the first 19 years of my life. I moved into that house when I was 2 months old, moved out when I was 19. So I moved out of that house into my studio space I think it was September 1st. Yeah, this is the anniversary of me moving out. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I moved out of my parents' place in 2017, so that was 5 years ago today. And then it was like I was in a new office. Because at my parents' house growing up, I did not have Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was so bad, it was so slow, I couldn't even use it, so we just canceled it. And we were using our phones for everything. We were just using cellular data and the hotspot data, and that was it. So to finally have an office space and to finally have Wi-Fi was a big deal for me. And I was like, okay, yes, we have like gigabit speeds, download at least. Upload wasn't gigabit, but I was like, okay, I have fast internet. I have my own office space. We decorated, we painted the walls blue and we hung up all the boxes and everything. And then it was like, okay, a couple weeks into that first move, it's time for the iPhone to launch. So there was like a lot of change and a lot happened leading up to the launch of the iPhone 10 because we all knew going into it, it was the biggest iPhone upgrade of all time. And I still feel that way. There's never been that many changes year over year for the iPhone as there was in 2017. They went from a metal chassis, an aluminum chassis to stainless steel. They went from a aluminum back to a glass back. They went from LCD to OLED. They went from Touch ID to Face ID. They got rid of the home button. They adopted the notch and the True Depth camera system. It was a different aspect ratio. It was the first OLED Super Retina display Apple had ever made. And the cameras were designed differently. It was the first time we had wireless charging. We had faster charging. 64 gigs was the default. Like, in terms of year over year noticeable changes, that was by far like the biggest iPhone 7 to iPhone 10 technically, even though the iPhone 10 didn't come out until November. Like, there were only 12 months between those two launches, and that was just huge. And a lot was going on in my life at the time, mostly because of a lot of those iPhone leaks. So it was the first $1,000 iPhone. Yeah, exactly. Big change all at once. So yeah, that was a big year, and I don't think we'll ever have a year like that again. I think that from here on out, it's all... The reason Apple doesn't use the term S with the iPhone, like the reason we're not getting the 13S, is because every year is really an S year. It's just going to be the same design with slight incremental upgrades. I don't think we're going to get like massive, giant redesigns again. You'll get tweaks, slightly more noticeable tweaks as time goes on. Maybe like, oh, the back is curved a little bit now, but there's only so much you can do once you've eliminated the bezel, right? Like, you can shrink down on the notch, and you can turn the notch into a pill, and then you can turn that pill into a hole, and then you can put that hole underneath the display. But ultimately, it's not going to change the way you use your phone. It's not going to be as big a deal as the iPhone 10 was. Let's see. How do you like your Tesla so far? Are you planning on doing a review? Yeah, that's all on Tailosive EV. I posted a video on Tailosive EV recently about all the accessories and all the things I like and don't like. And yeah, so I can't condense everything into one review, but I can. I've been covering the car basically for the past 4 videos on that channel. But yeah, I love it. It's great. Martingale says, if you know the answer, what's the longest you have gone without spending money on a new Apple product and keeping it? I mean, do you count when I was born? I didn't buy my first Apple product until I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old or something like that. Maybe 10. But that probably doesn't count. We might be coming close to it. I don't know. There's been times in the past where, like, Apple would drop hardware in the spring and I wasn't interested in it, and I would only buy stuff that came out in September and October. And the last thing I bought from Apple that I kept was... What was it? Is it this MacBook Pro? It might be the MacBook Pro. So that wasn't even... That was 11 months ago? But yeah, I don't think there's much I plan on buying and keeping in the near-term future. I like my AirPods. I guess I got an Apple TV recently, but that was a gift. I didn't pay for that. JCP says Louise needs a Tesla Model Y, still upgrading despite no earth-shaking new features. I don't think she wants the Model Y anymore. She's driving the Model 3 right now, actually. She just left right before I went live. Let me see. Well, it's parked right now. But, yeah, the Model Y is just way more expensive than the car we bought. David Fee says, are you getting an iPhone 14? I will get one to review, but I'm not upgrading to it. So just like I review iPads, or I reviewed the Mac Studio or the Studio Display, there are certain products that I try out for the sake of the channel, but if I was not a YouTuber, no, I would not be buying the iPhone 14 at all. And even though I am a YouTuber, I'm not planning on keeping it. I'll sell it or send it back. Thank you so much for the super chat, JCP. He says, purple Model Y for Louise, still upgrading despite... I read it already, but he's super chat. Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you for the donation. Louise does like the Tesla, and Louise does like the color purple, but there's something she loves more than the Tesla, and there's something else that she loves more than the color purple. Money. Louise loves having money, and if we bought a Model Y, we would have substantially less money than we have right now. Let's see. What do you think the Watch Pro battery life will be? I think I read somewhere that it would be like maybe around 6 hours longer. So I'm gonna guess it, like, on all the Apple Watches so far, they've said they have 18-hour battery life. I think the Pro Watch will have like 24. It's not like game-changing battery life, but it is better. Um, every year I get my new iPhone, I always say in 1 year this will be obsolete as I get the next one. Yeah, I know I used to do that, and a lot of people do that, but I just think that, especially considering the recession we're in right now and the fact that technology is getting so good, maybe it's just that Drew is getting older and more mature and more boring, and maybe I'm not as hardcore as an Apple sheep as I used to be. But I want to kind of set an example of, like, it's okay to hold on to tech for longer than a year. It's okay to not have the latest and greatest. Sam says, my phone isn't obsolete, it's vintage. Yeah, I think Chris Norton said earlier that his iPhone 6S is at, like, what, 87% battery health? But then he says he also has an 11 Pro. Jeremy also asks, why so many lenses instead of just a single periscope lens with a big sensor? If it made more sense to do, they would probably be doing it. They have basically infinite budgets, both Apple, Samsung, Google. They have so much money, they're going to figure out the best possible way to put a camera on a phone, and I think that the solutions they've come up with so far are probably the best way to do it. I do regret getting Space Gray, though, yeah. Thank you, Bulbs, for the super chat. I got my iPhone 13 on launch day, and my battery health is still at 100. I use a 5-watt charger, which unfortunately will not be possible with USB-C. No, that's not true. You can get 5-watt USB-C chargers. Not from Apple, but they exist. Maybe you're insistent that you have to use an Apple one. But they may, like, if you're using a 5-watt charger, then you have a 5-watt brick. All you need is to find which there's tons of them. I have several. I would, if I was close to you, I would give them to you. All you need is a USB-A to Type-C cable, which there's a ton of USB-A to Type-C cables. So just plug that into your 5-watt brick. Boom, you can charge over 5 watts. You can charge at 5 watts with Type-C. It's totally doable. Let's see. What are the best cases for iPhone? I love the Nothing case. I can give that one a shout out. Max says, I cannot in good faith be willing to spend $1,000 on a watch when my new iPhone 14 Pro will be like $1.2 thousand. I know. It's just like, hey, $1,000 is not the same thing for all of us. If you make $100,000 a year, $1,000 is a lot less than someone who makes $30,000 a year. $1,000 is a lot of money for that person. So that's why some of us can justify dropping $1,000 on a watch, or some of us can justify upgrading every single year, and others of us will try to upgrade as little as possible and hold on to our phones for 4 or 5, maybe 6 years if we can. And I've done the whole upgrade your iPhone every year thing. I've done that on the channel, and I've covered that. I think I'm ready to start, especially because, not that the iPhone 14 Pro is bad by any means, it's just that this phone is still so good. It's still so capable. The battery is still super long. The cameras are fantastic. And there's just not really much going for the new phone that would be much different than this phone. Once I got 120 hertz, I was set. I was like, okay, there's very little reason for me to upgrade the phone now, because that was like the biggest thing I've wanted for years. Ever since I got my iPad Pro in 2017, I wanted 120 hertz on all the things. And now I have it on most of the things. My MacBook has it. My phone has it. My iPad has it. And I don't think the Apple Watch is going to get it anytime soon. But if it does, rip my bank account. Ryan says it's not about the money. It's about living longer. That's not what he said. I thought he says it's about sending a message, which that joke would also work here. Dr. Panda says 13 mini or 12 mini. At this point, you could probably find the 13 mini on sale, so I don't think compromising with the 12 mini is worth it anyway. David V says, actually, if you upgrade every year, it costs the same as waiting 5 years. The resale value is so good on iPhones, you only end up actually spending $200. So I did a video on that, and I did not find that to be the case. I found it ended up costing, like, still an additional $200, because what you don't account for is the price hikes, right? Hey, Trevor's in the chat. He's just saying good. But for those who don't know, he probably doesn't want the attention, but I added my brother-in-law Trevor as a moderator so that if he joins again, I can see him. But hey, say hi to my brother-in-law. He's in the chat, everybody. Also, he does some videos on his channel, so check him out. Like, when you do the math of, okay, you can recoup 80% of your phone's resale value over the course of 5 years, that's assuming that the iPhone doesn't go up in price, which it absolutely does over the course of 5 years. We're about to probably see another price hike. So I still think it ultimately ends up costing more to upgrade every year. It's just not as much as people think. It doesn't cost you $1,000 a year. Oh, Trevor says he's totally being productive at work. I actually drove by his work the other day. I saw he rides a motorcycle, and I thought so that was cool. But yeah, like it probably, if you always sell your old model, then it probably ends up costing you like $200 a year to have the latest iPhone. But ultimately, like, the way I want to combat that is when I do upgrade my iPhone again, I would like to get like a certified refurbished, or I'd like to get like the year prior's model. Basically, I want to hold on to the 13 Pro Max as long as I can, because I was really impressed recently when Trevor's dad showed me that he was still using an iPhone 6. And this was this year. This was not that long ago. He just replaced the battery in it, and it still runs good as new, and he's very happy with it. And I'm like, that guy, like, we're coming up on iPhone 14. We're coming up on the 14th iPhone, and he's still rocking a 6. Like, over half of the iPhone's life ago, and he's happy, and he's content. And he's loving it. So I'm like, I want to be more like him and be content with less, and I think that we would all do we could all do ourselves a favor if we could be more like Trevor. He's still rocking the second gen SE, but he can also tell you how before he got that second gen SE, he was using an iPhone 5S all the way up until 2020. So he just used that phone because it worked well for him, and he was happy with it all the way up until it basically didn't run anymore. And I think he even got the second gen SE as a gift. He didn't even choose to buy it. Someone just gave it to him, and he was like, "Oh, cool! I guess I have a new phone." So it's inspiring, and I think a lot of the time we get caught up in the new tech and we get excited for new hardware, but it's also just important to acknowledge that, you know, it's okay to hold on to tech longer. I'm not saying you can't upgrade to the new iPhone. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. But I'm basically trying to prove with my own spending now, because I spent way too much money on Apple products last year. I think after the watch and the phone and the MacBook, it was like I probably spent $8,000 on Apple products in 2021. And I was just like, oh, this is, you know, all this hardware is great, and I use it for work, so I can kind of justify it. But I also want to now send the message of like, let's see how long we can get this hardware to last so that we're not dropping all this money year over year. I think that's a good example to live by. And I also just think that if I do upgrade my iPhone again, I want it to be a very big, very noticeable upgrade. Because I've been upgrading phones every year for the past few years. Thank you, Ben, for becoming a channel supporter. That's very kind of you. I really want to, like, have no compromises on my next upgrade. Like, how about no notch, no pill, no camera hole of any kind? Maybe I can hold on to this phone long enough to the point that when I upgrade again, there will be no camera cutout or anything. It'll just be one equal-sized bezel all the way around. It'll have USB 4 Gen 2, which was just announced, which supports 80 gigabits per second, and that'll support like Apple Decks, where you can dock your phone with a big monitor and use it like a desktop. And it'll have just, you know, an even more groundbreaking camera with great zoom and great low light and great ultra wide and even better battery life than I have now. Maybe it's made of titanium by then. But I just would love to see how long I can get my 13 Pro Max to last and then upgrade. You know, I understand that it's probably unrealistic to assume that smartphones are gonna last us 10 plus, 15 plus years. Because batteries wear out over time, lithium degrades, and it's just a matter of time. Like, newer tech comes out and it gets better and more affordable, so it's just more practical to upgrade after a certain amount of time. Drew is taking the no-notch pledge. Is that what it's called? I will upgrade when Apple eliminates all forms of camera cutouts in the display. Maybe that's what I'm waiting for. Michael says, about a normal people don't even think about upgrading your phone until it breaks or it's just unusable. Only US tech nerds obsess over all the details. I don't know if I'd restrict it just to the United States. I think there's a lot of people outside of the US that are still interested in buying new tech and buying new phones all the time. Nikias Molina is a great example. He's from Spain, and he covers Apple stuff and Apple upgrades and stuff. Maybe he's visited the U.S. a few times, and I don't know where he's living now, but I know he's not from the U.S. Ophi says, which one do you prefer, the eye hole or the pill-shaped notch? I really don't like either. I think I prefer the 13 notch to both of them, but if I don't have the 13 as a choice, I think the eye hole makes more sense. You know, I don't particularly like it, but at least it makes sense that you're trying to cram as many pixels on the front display as possible. And you're just trying to have the most colorful front as you can. Whereas... Oh, he meant us tech nerds. I get it. Sorry. I took US as United States. My bad. Oh my god, there's too many channel members today. Cedric, thank you so much for becoming a supporter. You'll get to vote on future video subjects, and when I do behind the scenes live streams and stuff, you guys can join. Have you found any decent looking monitors to pair with your MacBook? No, not really. Frankly, when we go on trips and things, I don't get to use a monitor anyway, so I think it's better for me to just kind of get used to working off the MacBook display. Someone earlier asked me, sorry, I forgot who it was, but someone was asking earlier if I regret not getting the 14-inch MacBook Pro, and I just wanted to say no. I personally would have spent more money if they made a larger MacBook, because this is the machine I take with me on trips, and before I had this MacBook Pro, I was used to a 27-inch iMac Pro. This still feels small for me. The 16-inch display still doesn't feel very big compared to what I'm used to. So if they made an 18-inch MacBook, I would have kept it. I would have bought that one. But they don't. So this is currently the biggest MacBook Pro they sell, so that's the one I bought. And I don't find it large or too bulky or cumbersome. I've been taking my MacBook back and forth between the office and the car because I've been filming a lot of videos in the new car, and like yesterday I did a 2-hour live stream from the vehicle, and even in the car it's great having that display as big as possible, and walking it back and forth is not too... I don't think it's that thick, and I don't think it's that heavy, personally. I know some people would rather have a thinner, lighter MacBook, but I still think it's fairly compact, and it fits in my bag really well. That was my fault, and partially Gboard voice chat. See, the only reason I was thrown off by Mr. Corcoran's message was that he capitalized the U and the S. I didn't think he was emphasizing the us. I just thought he meant the country. But yeah, he was using voice, so that's probably why. Oh my god, too much generosity. Jacob, thank you for the super chat. He says, I bet someone out there found a 13 mini at Goodwill for $1. Really? I'd be surprised. I mean, hats off if anybody found a 13 mini for $1, but I don't think that would end up at Goodwill. I think the eye hole cutout is a bit too unique to the point of being a bit distracting, so the pill cutout is a good compromise. Looks different enough, but not as distracting. I guess I could see that, but I feel like they're trying to be distracting to a point, because like you said, it's trying to be different, which if you're trying to be different, you're intentionally trying to attract attention, right? Like you're trying to stand out a little bit. But I thought the eye hole looked kind of iconic and recognizable, but I could see Apple getting behind it, but I feel like they could have just stuck with the notch, and it probably would have sold just as well. I'd love to see how many people are buying the new iPhone because of the pill. You know, I see a lot of people that are tolerating the pill, that are like, it's not that bad, or I could get used to it. But how many people are like, yeah, I'm not interested in getting a new iPhone, and then they see the pill, and they're like, oh, now I'm interested. Okay, now I want to buy one. You know, like, what was the overlap there? AJ, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are being awfully nice today. You better stop. You better chill. I heard someone instantly judging and said Mac is not reliable just because his Premiere Pro froze the entire Mac OS. I've had Premiere Pro freeze my Mac as well, but I could tell you confidently it's not the Mac's fault. That's just Adobe software is a headache to deal with. Um, Especially if you go into like the Adobe subreddit and see how often people are complaining about Adobe software and the updates and settings and presets getting broken and the Creative Cloud. It's just so many annoyances with Adobe software. And yes, it can cause your machine to crash because it's not well optimized for unified memory and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't mean your Mac is unreliable. I like the pill and I hate the pill, says Joey. No part of me really likes it. I guess I don't hate it, but again, I consider it a side grade. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. I mean, in some ways it is arguably worse, but the 13 Pro Max has a nice notch. It's a big enough display that the change is most noticeable out of all the sizes. Yeah, you do get really big ears with the 13 Pro Max notch, that's for sure. And that makes it easy to see your battery percentage. Mine is at 69. Which is what I charge my car to as well. I think Apple should give an option for hiding pixels or showing them, which they will never do. Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was like, I know people are asking for that. Apple should let us choose. I mean, hey, maybe it's too soon to dismiss. You know, we thought they would never let us view the battery percentage, and they gave us that. So, oh my God, James, what is it with all the super chats today? You guys better chill yourselves. I'm still rocking my iPhone 7. It does what I need for my business, makes calls, does email on the go, and can look stuff up in the internet. Simple stuff. That's, like, I love that, James. Like, I don't think a lot of people get it. Like, a lot of people think, like, oh my God, you're still using an iPhone 7? Oh my God, you can have a way better display. You can have a way better camera. You know, that's how a lot of the tech community views people that are using old tech. Whereas I view it as an advantage. If you can comfortably live with less, that means you don't have to upgrade as often. You don't have to spend as much money. You can be comfortable with a cheaper, more affordable product. And that's to all your gain, you know? If I'm the picky kind of guy that says I need 120 hertz or I need a ultra wide lens or I need a telephoto lens that goes 3x or whatever, or I need 5G or I need MagSafe, if I'm that kind of guy, that means that financially I'm at a disadvantage because in order for me to get those things that I quote-unquote need, obviously it's the tech world, no one needs anything. But if we're just talking about like I need that to be happy, then that means I have to spend more money than James does. So James has this huge advantage over me because he can use that money on other things. He can go to restaurants and get the food he wants, or he can invest that money and turn it into more money as this stock market grows or dividends pay out over time. He could invest it in something else that he cares about, fixing up his house or making some modifications to his car. You know, he's at this tremendous advantage because he's able to live with less, and that he's fine with that, and he's not bothered by it. So that inspires me, and I want to be the guy that's like, yeah, I don't need to upgrade. I'm happy with what I have, and I'm at a tremendous financial advantage because of it. Oh, this is cool. James says, I just got married, bought a house for a family, finally out of my small apartment, so I'm better off. That's wonderful. Congratulations, man. That's amazing. Home ownership is, I think, not talked about enough, and I think a lot of people are just convinced that they can't buy outright, so they rent, and then they're stuck paying a landlord for years and years and years, and you never get that money back, whereas a house is an investment. So I know this is more financial talk, sorry, but not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I definitely think more people should think about buying a house. Financially, it's such a better move if you can do it. If you can't do it, then just realize where all of that rent money is going, which is nowhere. That's not an investment. That's just money lost. Buying a house is an investment, which most likely will appreciate over time. Almost confirmed to go up in value as time goes on. The super chats are for you to afford the 14 Pro Max after Apple dazzles you with their marketing videos. Well, I hope you guys know, like, I'm very much grateful for the channel supporters, and I'm grateful for the super chats, but it's by no means expected. You know, like, I would be totally happy if none of you guys donated. I would still do this because I just think it's fun to talk about upcoming Apple announcements, and I think it's just cool to share stories like this. And I love hearing about what James is doing and how he's happy with his iPhone 7, and people letting me know what their battery health is at and all that. Or like Kevin says, it also shows the quality of iOS. You don't have to upgrade as often. Yeah, like I just love bouncing stories off people like this, and I would do it regardless of if I was paid for it. Obviously, life costs money, so there does have to be somewhat of a financial motivator for me with the channel, because if I didn't make any money, I wouldn't be able to do this. I would have to go find a different job, and I would have to work there, and then had substantially less time for YouTube. I've done YouTube on the side before, and I definitely didn't have as much time as I do now. So I appreciate the donations, but I just hope you guys know, like, there's enough people, thankfully, watching, even if you're not super chatting. The fact that you're just watching the live stream or watching my videos, that helps me out a ton. That's the bulk of my income, is just Google ad revenue. So don't feel like you need to super chat or you need to become a channel supporter. I appreciate it, and I enjoy our smaller, more intimate live streams that we have. But it's not expected, and don't feel like you have to do it, because, yeah, like, I can't necessarily use that excuse of, oh, help me buy the iPhone 14, and that super chat's going to help me pay for the new iPhone. It's like, no, I'm not upgrading. So it's going to help pay for my expensive health care, because health insurance in the United States is crap, and it's not necessarily that much better if I left the United States. For one, I have too much family and friends here, so I'm not going to leave the country. But in other countries, the income taxes would be way higher. So while the health coverage would go down, the taxes would go up to compensate for it. From the math I've seen, it would probably go up further than what my health coverage costs. It helps pay for my electric bill, helps keep the lights on, helps pay for property taxes, which you got to pay when you own a house, and helps me pay for food. Helps me exist, basically. Sadly, breathing costs money in this world, so there's got to be some money coming in. My wife complains a lot about me upgrading my iPhone every year. Should I dump her? Oh, man. I hope she's in the room right now. Is Maz's wife in the room as he's writing this message? Were you hoping that I wouldn't read that message and she wouldn't hear this? Because if get your wife on the stream right now, okay? Bring her in the chat. Tell her, honey, the guy I'm watching wants to talk to you. I want to talk to your wife, please. I know this sounds weird. Okay, did we get her? Is she here? All right. Maz? Mrs. Maz, whatever your last name is. Oh, he says, you're absolutely right. Your husband is upgrading way too much. The iPhone differences are not that... You're not crazy. Don't let him upgrade his new iPhone. I just got him in so much trouble. Oh, my God. Sorry. Don't let him upgrade. I'm getting brownie points in another marriage at this point. And she's like, yeah, I like him. I like what he said. She's probably like, see? Even the Tailosive tech guy says you're spending too much on your iPhone. I'm going to cause... I know some good marriage counselors if you guys want to sit down and talk. You guys are really here to talk to each other, so just tell me how you're feeling. He buys iPhones too much. She doesn't like it. This man is about to get grilled. All I say, I've been married happily for almost 4 years now. In a couple months, I'm going to hit my 4-year anniversary. And there is so much truth to happy wife, happy life. And what is far more worth it than pleasing the wife... What is far more worth it than the 8K camera you could get or the longer battery life that your iPhone may get? What's far better than anything the iPhone 14 could possibly offer is a happy wife. I would pay thousands of dollars a year to ensure that my wife is happy. Luckily, my wife is not like a big spender, so I don't have to spend a bunch of money to keep her happy. She's very content with what she has, and she doesn't want to upgrade her phone and all that. But still, if your wife is telling you that you're spending too much on your phone, she's probably right. just remember, Maz, if if you think you're right and she thinks she's right, then she's right. That's how it works. My wife isn't too happy right now. She just threw a pillow at my face. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Maz. I think I caused that one. Maz, if you ever see me in person, if we ever run into each other in public, I give you permission to hit me with a pillow because I probably deserve that. Drew coming to steal your girl. No. I want to talk to your wife. Drew out of context. I just dumped my girlfriend to afford an iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's not worth it, guys. As much as I love tech, a happy marriage is much better. A happy wife is much worth it over the new iPhone, I gotta admit. Anyway, thank you, Demetha. I almost missed it. Demetha super chatted and said Drew's healthcare fund. I really appreciate that. Seriously, that's actually our biggest expense right now. Our biggest monthly expense is healthcare, unless you're counting income tax. Income tax is dependent on how much you make, obviously, but so is our health coverage. Technically, our health coverage goes up or down depending on how much we make. So, anyway, I thought you would say you would pay thousands for a wife. No, don't buy a wife. That's not love. I'm single. My money only. Joey says, I live in a country with healthcare that is paid for, and I don't pay nearly as much income tax as Republican politicians would like you to believe, so they can keep their crappy healthcare. Well, tell me where, but I'm not quoting Republican politicians. I'm just saying I've looked at free healthcare in other countries, and typically any country that has free healthcare has higher income taxes than what I have. This is the most entertaining stream. This has been a fun one. We got Maz in a lot of trouble. I'm sorry she's not happy. Watch the new Samsung advert and react to it live. It's on the forums. It's so cringe, showing shade towards Apple. How do I find it? You're going to spend more to dump her than an iPhone? Yeah, trust me. I love iPhones and I love hardware and I love technology, but happy wife is worth it. My wife said I can't chat anymore, but I'm still watching. Why are you chatting? Don't chat. If she says don't chat anymore. Have I taught you nothing? Happy wife. Where do I find this? Samsung Mobile? We're going to do a little impromptu Apple Sheep Reacts here. I don't think it's Odyssey Arc, is it? It's on 9 to 5 Mac and Mac Rumors. Really? It's making the Apple news sites? That usually means it's big. Do you like that the iPhone will be a pill and be used for cool notification LEDs? Nah, I'd prefer the notch, personally. Oh, okay. Samsung is already mocking iPhone 14's lack of innovation in an ad trolling Apple. Okay. Throwing around the I word again. It's called Buckle Up. I don't know if I can show it. It's probably fine if I hold it like this. All right. Wait.
As you enter a world where heads will turn, just not in your direction. The highest resolution camera on a smartphone will be in someone else's pocket, and that epic moonshot that's getting all the likes won't be yours. Because this innovation is not coming soon to an iPhone near you. It's already here in the galaxy.
That's funny. That makes me laugh. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. Samsung has always loved to poke fun at Apple, and now they're poking fun at lack of innovation because, I mean, it's not the worst Samsung ad I've seen. It's not as bad as the Ingenious ads, which were making fun of. They were mocking Apple removing the headphone jack, and then they removed the headphone jack like 12 months later. But yeah, they definitely were. I mean, it's a smart ad because it got a lot of attention, especially from the Apple fan base. You just convinced a bunch of Apple sheep to watch a Samsung commercial. If they would have just made a random basic Samsung commercial, no one would have wrote articles about it, but now it's on 9 to 5 Mac and Mac Rumors. It's dumb because that's not what people buy phones for. You don't buy phone based on which phone is the most innovative. People buy phones based on what works the best, what gets the job done. There can be a really innovative hammer. Like, innovative just means new and different. Like, you could make a hammer out of carbon fiber, but that doesn't make it better than a standard, like, metal hammer made of steel. You know, like, that's still going to be the better tool for the job. But sure, a carbon fiber hammer might be very innovative and very different and very unique. That doesn't mean it's better. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. He says, my ex doesn't like iPhones now. Oh. Is that why she's your ex? Or should... Yeah. Let's not go down that trend. We brought back Apple Sheep Reacts. Joey says, Canada, to be clear, our healthcare isn't perfect, but at least I can go to the emergency room and not worry about how much it's going to cost. Yes, and that is a good thing, that you don't have to worry about how much it's going to cost. But I have heard a lot of poor stories about Canadian healthcare from friends I've had that used to live in Canada. So I don't think there's a great healthcare system really anywhere. It all comes with either higher taxes or worse service or more expensive. Like, I don't know what the best solution is. But all I know is I'm not leaving the country because of, you know, where I live, who lives here. I know people here. My family's here. And I love my family. And I don't want to leave them. Let's see. UK income tax is only 8% higher than US. When we need healthcare, we are glad of it. That's good. But that's 8% is a lot on your total income. You know, if you make $100,000 a year, that's an extra $8,000. I don't pay $8,000 for health insurance. I pay a lot less than $8,000 for. I'm not saying I make $100K a year. It just depends on the year. But all I'm saying is 8% is not a little amount. I didn't realize you had so many other channels recently. Ran into the I Love Louise videos, and they were pretty funny. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed. AJ, thank you for the super chat. Here we go again. Samsung, the attention seeker. Well, hey, it worked. I mean, from a marketing perspective, they got a bunch of people to talk about it. And now we know that the space zoom and the highest megapixel cameras on the Galaxy and folding phones. Hey, someone was asking where Nick was earlier. He's in the chat. Nick and Sweeney tuning in. It's iPhone time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure Nick is buying the new iPhone. He always needs the best possible camera with the best possible battery life. Hey, Nick, since you're here, I need to know, what's your battery health at on your 13 Pro Max? Please. You use your phone harder than all of us. You churn through that battery like no tomorrow. I need to know. What's your battery health at? Tailosive relationships. The hammer doubles as a Bluetooth speaker. Wow, that's an innovative hammer, but yeah, it's not that different. Samsung always makes fun of Apple for nothing because later on Samsung does the same thing. Well, yeah, it's funny that Samsung is mocking Apple for not being innovative, where most of Samsung's new phones these days are very iterative, just like the iPhones are. They slightly change, like, okay, we get it, Samsung, you make a flip and a fold, but you've been making the flip and the fold for the past few years. They've existed. That means it's technically, you can't just release a foldable and say it's new, because it's been around for, we've had foldables for 3 years now. I guess you could count that as new, but if all you're doing is, on those foldables, is making it a little bit faster, a little bit better camera, a little bit tweaked display. Oh, Nick just texted me. He's at 92% battery health. That's pretty good. I expected it to be worse, but I'm glad it's still holding up. What do you think the surprise item will be at the event next week, if there is one? It might be kind of a surprise to some, but I think like a new Apple TV or a new HomePod, like a full-size HomePod, not just a little one. Nick says he notices the decrease having to charge in the evenings. Wow. The 13 Pro Max is not making it through the day. Dylan says, I thought Nick was dead. No, not quite. He's very active on Twitter. He's working with Everyday Astronaut and NASA Spaceflight. So check out his he's probably posting more content now than he ever has, to be honest. Nick is working around the clock, but I'm looking forward to seeing him next month. Texas has no income tax. That's correct, but you have far higher property tax than we do. So yes, I have state income tax, but Texas honestly has really bad property taxes. All the states just move their taxes around. You know, California has pretty high state income tax, but one of the lowest property tax rates in the country, which means that if you don't make a lot, you don't have to pay a lot. Whereas the reason personally, sorry, we're getting into non-tech related things. If I had to choose, I would rather have low property tax and high income tax opposed to low income tax and high property tax. Because the property tax being high means that you get punished regardless of how much you make. And with me, my income is volatile. So I could make a lot in a year and then I got to pay more in taxes. But if I make a lot less, if I don't make as much the following year, then I don't have to pay as much in taxes. Whereas, regardless of my income in Texas, I'm going to be paying a ton of money in property taxes. So if your property value goes up or you get reassessed, you're going to have a bunch of a tax bill, even if you didn't make very much. Even if I made $15,000 a year, I would still have a giant property tax bill. Whereas if I made $15,000 a year in California, my income tax would go way down. So it's dependent on your income, whereas the property tax is dependent on the value of your property, which is almost always going up. And in California, we have this prop that locks in our property tax. So basically, as long as we don't change much with the house, I have to pay a flat rate for property taxes, and it's not that high at all. It's very low. It's something like $250 a month, I think. Max says property taxes are awful, especially in Tarrant County, but if you get out of the city, it isn't as bad, which is what we hope to do eventually. That's good. Yeah, I don't like living in big cities. Texas has low taxes, but you also have a privately owned power grid that isn't winterproof, and we know what happened. Yeah, I know. I'm not convinced California is this wonderful place to live. I think all states have their pros and cons. You know, I had a lot of friends that moved out of California because they were sick of it, including my parents. But then they found their own set of issues. Like, okay, there's no state income tax, but now the sales tax is way higher, and now the property tax is way higher, or they get taxed more on something else. So there's registration or that kind of thing. So it's like everywhere has its pros and cons. You know, you can exchange wildfires for grid outages, or you could exchange blizzards for hurricanes. All places have their pros and cons. Ultimately, the reason I live where I do is because I want to be close to family and friends, and I know the people here pretty well. And it's a pretty low cost of living area, and the property taxes are still low. So that's more important to me. And you put up with some higher income taxes, but you get to live really close to some pretty awesome places. You can drive to Portland in one day, and you can drive to San Francisco, and you can drive to San Diego all in one day. So living in a place that's that close to all of these awesome cities is pretty awesome. No state is perfect. All states have their quirks. Some states have nothing. It's like, okay, the property tax is low and the state income tax is low, but there's nothing here. There's nothing to. You're far away from the ocean. You're far away from anything interesting. You're just in the middle of this empty field all the time. Anyway, this is not tech. It's very true, Drew. There's no absolutely perfect place to live. Everything's got pros and cons. So that's why I say just pick a crowd. People is what you want to be. People you like is what you want to be close to. And I live very close to a bunch of people that I'm very happy with, and I love being close to, so that we can get together and have dinner, complain about the weather, social events where we get together and bring our food, and we all get to share what everybody cooked. I think social aspects is the main reason I want to live where I live. It sounds like you might be in the same area of California as me. That's sweet. Hey, Jarrett! Maybe we're close by. I feel like the Central Valley of California are one of the most forgotten parts of the U.S. No, that would be Wyoming. Sorry. Yeah, we're on T-Mobile Home Internet. The Bay Area weather is amazing. The Bay Area has incredibly good weather. It's just insanely expensive. It's honestly quite shocking how bad the real estate market is in the Bay Area. Carbon fiber hammer sounds way lighter than steel. It would be lighter, but with a hammer you actually want a certain amount of weight. That's the point of a hammer, is to apply weight on a nail. So if the hammer doesn't weigh very much, it's not going to apply much force to it. Death and taxes. Those are your two for sure things in life. I go back and forth to and from Texas. Lots of pros and cons. Oh yeah. And there's weird politics everywhere. People think California is expensive because of LA and San Francisco, but then forget that Sacramento and Bakersfield are a thing. Yeah, like, I mean, because most people in California do live there. Most of the population is in the major cities, but there's a lot of great places to live, like a couple hours away from the city. And if you want to, if you want to check out the city, if you want to visit, it's not hard. You could, like, I could drive to San Francisco in just a couple hours, and boom, now I'm enjoying San Francisco. There's the Golden Gate Bridge. There's Apple campus. There's the Tesla factory. There's a NASA building. You can check out all of San Francisco and then just drive home, and you don't have to pay. It takes a little bit longer to get there, but you'll spend like a tenth of the money on the property. Speed is more important than mass. Remember the kinetic energy formula? Sure, but with a hammer, you're not going to get that much speed. How at a certain point, you're just trying to, especially when you do tapping, a lot of nails with hammers, you want to tap lightly, and when you have a lot of weight and you don't have as much room to get fast, it's easier to have that weight working for you. You can't pre-order the iPhone if it's not out yet. That's correct. Pre-orders will be a week from tomorrow. I'm pretty sure on that, unless Apple's changing things up. But if they do anything like they typically do, then the iPhone 14 will be available for pre-order on September 9th at 5 a.m. Pacific. And yes, I'll probably live stream the pre-order process, even though I'm not keeping it. I know that sounds weird, but we always have fun on the pre-order streams. It sounds weird. There's always these people that jump in the chat. They're like, are you guys literally live streaming yourself buying a phone? That's so crazy. It's so stupid. It's like, yeah, but the thing is, this is a community, right? It's like a little online family. We're all hanging out. And that's a time of day where we're all up. We're all awake. We're all going on the website. We're all going to do the same thing at the same time. Why don't we hang out? That's what I love about the live streams. Is it's just a bunch of friends hanging out with each other, and we get to bounce stories, and we get to say, here's property taxes here, and death, and here's what marriage is like, and all that. Maz, you better stop writing in the chat. Your wife asked you not to write. I'm doing you a favor by not reading that message. You are messing with the bowl. You're gonna get the horns, man. Have I thought about Verizon Home Internet? I would love to try it, but it's not available here. And frankly, I wouldn't even love to try it because I have Verizon and I hated Verizon. I hate the account management, and their customer service annoyed me, and I hate all their brick and mortar stores. So I don't love Verizon as a company, although I'm willing to go to who I have to go to get the internet working reliably for my job. And at this point, T-Mobile Home Internet is a great deal, and it works well for me. But yeah, Verizon Home Internet I can't get here. Driving is fun too. Yeah, it's like rather than buy... Sorry, I'm going back to the property thing. I should focus more on tech. What would you hope to see in the new Mac Pro? A butt ton of Thunderbolt ports. And I guess I'm not in the market for it, so I don't have a huge wish list. I'm expecting it to be expensive. But I guess it would be cool if it was upgradable or modular in some way, shape, or form. Because I'm like, okay, who the heck needs more than a Mac Studio can do? Mac Studio is so insanely powerful with the non-binned M1 Ultra chip that's so insanely fast. Who needs more power than that? Like, MKBHD is already on the Mac Studio, and he's making stuff faster than all his Intel Mac Pros did. If you're spending that kind of money, then you should get something extra. Maybe that's more local storage, or I don't know, just a butt ton of ports. Hey, here it is. I've got an answer. What do I want to see in the new Mac Pro? An SD card slot. Believe it or not. The MacBook Pro, the Mac Studio, they both have SD card slots. The Mac Pro does not. It still doesn't. You can pay $50,000 for that thing, but you still got to spend an extra $50 to get an SD card adapter. Come on. That's ridiculous. It makes no sense. That should have never left the Mac Pro. I had an SD card slot on my iMac Pro. Why did the Mac Pro not get one? It makes no sense. So that's what I'd like to see. Look at the Nebraska on every 5G coverage map. Yeah, Nebraska. That's the forgotten part. I actually don't think Wyoming exists. I think it's made up. It's not a real state. What I was going to say earlier is rather than spend $1 million on a house in San Francisco so that you can say you live in the city, why not buy a $300,000 house and a $50,000 car and drive to the city in a cheaper area that's far further away. And then you'll just have a really nice car that you get to ride in for those 2 hours that you got to drive to the city, and then you'll live in a cheaper cost of living area, but you still get the benefits of the city. Why are we stopping at wanting 2 terabyte iPhone? Wait, did I miss when people were asking for 2 terabytes? When did that subject come up? Someone mentioned that the other day. Some source was saying, like, there will not be a 2 terabyte iPhone. I was like, oh god, are we asking for that? Did someone want one? I haven't seen Big Truck Series Review Motorsports in a while. Was he asking for a 2 terabyte iPhone? I missed it. I didn't see that comment. Marngel says, do you think the Mac Pro and MacBook Pros will be unveiled this October with the iPads or a separate November event? Usually it's October. Occasionally you get a November event, but I would guess October. And I don't know if the MacBook Pros will be ready. I wouldn't be shocked if the MacBook Pros got pushed till next year. It just seems very early to refresh them. If they do refresh them, I doubt they'll be very different. Christian, thank you for the super chat. He says, I just upgraded my 16-inch M1 from 16 to 64 gigs of RAM. Do you think Apple will announce new MacBook Pros again? Well, I mean, eventually, right? Not at this event. This is an iPhone event. I don't know if Apple has ever announced a new iPhone and a new MacBook Pro simultaneously, or if they have, it's not been for like 7 or 8 years. It's been a while. So yeah, I think that obviously they're working on they're always going to be working on new MacBook Pros, but I think October feels a little soon. 12 months after, like the MacBook Air, they waited 18 months before updating it. Now with the Pro, they're going to wait 12 months. I don't know. That feels a little off. One word, gas. 2 words, electric vehicle. You can get a really good electric vehicle for 50 grand. And rather than spend $1 million on that house, you can buy a $300,000 house, $50,000 car, and $50,000 on the solar panels so that it's free to drive the car, or substantially cheaper to drive it around. Anyway, tech. Do you think the Mac Pro will be based on the M series of chips or a brand new series of chips like the X1 and possibly even X1 Pro? I think an Apple Silicon modular Mac is kind of impossible. To a certain extent it is. Like, you can't expand the unified memory, but there's been rumors of them being able to tap in with like expandable RAM, and the RAM isn't quite as fast as the unified RAM, but it still can help work on the same system, and you lose a bit of that efficiency. But that's kind of the point of the Mac Pro, is like the Mac Pro is not trying to be efficient. It's not trying to be small. It's not trying to be compact. There's no battery life to worry about. They can go all out and make a more inefficient design that's still based on the ARM architecture, but just kind of Frankensteined up with external parts and stuff. I feel like it has to be different than just a Mac Studio that's bigger, right? Like, it would just be kind of boring if they just made a Mac Studio that was larger, and that was it. 4 words, running out of electricity. 1 word, Tesla Powerwall. There's a bunch of people with solar panels. Actually, we just had one of these. This is technology. Trust me. We just had one of these recently. It's happened several times now. A bunch of people in California have bought Tesla Powerwalls. And what's really cool is the Tesla Powerwalls can all sync together and form a virtual power plant. So solar is becoming very popular. It's been very popular in California. So there's a lot of people that are just charging their car through the sun, and they buy these power walls, or basically it's a battery for your house. It powers your house during an outage or during on-peak hours. If the grid is overloaded, then you pull the power from the battery. That way you don't overwhelm the grid. But there's actually software that they've baked into these power walls, which is really smart, where they all sync up together. So basically everybody that has a power wall that opts into this program opts for their power wall that they charged up via solar to put energy back into the grid. So when there's an energy shortage and people are running low on power, the power walls will start to power the houses. Oh my god, my bitrate took a huge dip. Oh my god. I'm sorry, it's probably really bad looking right now. T-Mobile, what's going on? T-Mobile home internet is freaking out. Hopefully it corrects itself in a minute. I know I'm really, really pixelated. Oy. This is bad. Well, at least you can hear me. But I know I'm all choppy. Anyway, my point is, the virtual power plant, okay, it's starting to correct itself slowly. The bit rate is slowly climbing back up. Sometimes T-Mobile freaks out. No, like, I meant running out of electricity mid-trip. That doesn't happen. Teslas are like the most popular vehicle in California, but people don't run out of battery on the road. There's chargers everywhere. People are charging. Tesla I want to talk about this because it's exciting, but it's not necessarily electric vehicle related, so I don't talk about it on Tailosive EV. We're on the tech channel. Basically, all the power walls start feeding the grid power when there's a shortage, and you actually, if you're a Powerwall owner, you get paid for the electricity that you send into the grid. $2 per kilowatt hour. So if you powered, 10 kilowatt hours into the grid, you get $20 out of that event. And they ran it for how long? Several hours, I think. But they basically, Powerwalls single-handedly gave 3,500 homes electricity, 24 megawatt hours of power to support the grid. So the more people that buy solar and the more people that buy Powerwalls help stabilize the grid. And I think that was really, really cool that the Powerwalls can just do that. Just an over-the-air update. Boom. Put energy into the grid and the Powerwall starts making you money. They actually pay you. Chunky Drew isn't real. He can't hurt you. What happened to the bitrate? I don't know. Sometimes T-Mobile has those little strokes like that. It's weird. I tried to get solar panels installed on my home, but my house needs $12,000 in repairs to retrofit for solar panels. Yeah, we're not convinced we need to buy solar because I know our electric bill is going to go up, but the break-even point is going to take a while, so you have to make up your mind on like how long you're going to be in a house. If you're not going to be in a house for more than 10 or 15 years, then it probably doesn't make financial sense to get solar. No, I do not use a screen protector on my phone. I do, however, have a screen protector on my car, which I just did a video on. I saw another streamer copying your design, my Tailosive Tech design. Huh. All right. Well, I'll take it as flattery. I do that in Vermont, even though we probably never have power outages. Yeah, I haven't had a power outage here in over a year, which I'm impressed by, because we used to get power outages more frequently, and now there's more electric vehicles than there ever has been, and people are running their air conditioning more than they ever have, but the grid has remained surprisingly stable. My roof is the wrong shape for solar. My roof would be great for solar, but it's just, I don't know how long we're going to live here. I can't say confidently that we'll be here for 10 plus years, which I would need to in order to justify getting solar. Starlink has entered the chat. Yeah, no internet provider is perfect. I had internet outages as well with Comcast when I streamed on Xfinity. So no one's without issue. So yeah, get a Tesla, get solar, get a Powerwall. It's a dream situation. You don't have to worry about energy losses. Could you show if there are any micro scratches on your iPhone screen? If they're there, they're very hard to see. Ceramic Shield has been impressive to me. Hey, that rhymed. I don't know why, but I don't think it's going to show up on camera. Can you guys see any? Some of it looks like a scratch, but it's just dust. And I can't even show you this with continuity camera because then I'll be using my phone as the camera. So it's pretty freaking clean, other than my fingerprints, obviously. And that's not a scratch. That's dust. So, yeah. There's probably some, but they're very small and hard to find. So that's about a year without a screen protector or a case. Why screen protector on the car, though? Is it to avoid fingerprints? The only reason we put it on the car, for one, yes, to avoid fingerprints, because it is a big touch screen and you use it when you're driving, which is kind of important. But also, it's the only piece of technology that I could see myself owning for 10 to 20 years. Maybe over 20 years, depending on what our situation looks like. So I think there's a chance we might own this car for decades. So, okay, if I'm going to own a tech product for decades, then I will put a screen protector on it to be safe. This, maybe I'll own for 4 or 5 years, and it's after 1 year it's fine. And also in the car, it's very expensive and very difficult to get the screen replaced if you do break it. And I've seen videos of people, especially if you film in the car a lot, like you put cameras in certain places, and I'm filming in the car a lot, so I mount my phone kind of behind the display, or you put GoPros and suction cup them to the glass and stuff. That I've seen stories where people are mounting something and then it drops and it lands on the display and it cracks it, and it's very difficult to get replaced. If this screen cracks, it's probably going to cost me $100 or something to replace. I don't think it would be that cheap on the Tesla to replace, and I would be out of car. When my phone needs service, okay, I just have a cracked screen for a while. When my car needs service, oh my god, there goes the bit rate again. T-Mobile, what's wrong with you? Sorry, guys. If you install solar, you should be able to sell the house for more. Yeah, you should, but it typically doesn't work that way. It's not direct. Yeah, like Mike said, it's not directly proportional in value, and also it can cause a lot of problems depending on what type of solar panel system you get. T-Mobile really doesn't feel like staying at a high bit rate for some reason. Maybe T-Mobile's telling me I've been live streaming too long. Yeah, I want to do autopilot. I'm actually going to subscribe to FSD probably tomorrow. Or no, today. I'll subscribe to... No, probably tomorrow. How long have you been going without a screen protector on your phone? As long as I've existed. I've never put a screen protector on any of my phones. You should do a yearly update on your iPhone 13. Yeah, I kind of plan to. I want to do long-term reviews. But actually, my parents got solar on their house, and it ended up being a really complicated thing because a lot of the times when people are buying a house, what they're asking is, what's the condition of the roof? Because one of the most expensive house repairs you can do is replacing the roof. And if you have solar panels on the roof, you have to get a quote from the solar company on how much it will cost to remove the solar panels, which you often can't do by yourself. You need a certified technician to remove them. Take the solar panels off, replace the roof, and then put the solar panels back on. So they bought solar panels for my childhood home, and then when they were selling the house, they tried to get a quote from the company, and it turns out that the company that installed the solar panels went... they didn't go bankrupt, but they got bought out by a different company, and because the solar panels were installed in a different way that they don't support anymore, they were not providing an accurate estimate on what it would cost to remove them. So... as soon as they told their realtor, my parents were like, okay, we're ready to sell the house. And she goes, do you have solar? And they were like, yeah, we got solar. And then she's like, oh, she rolled her eyes. She was like, oh, that makes it so much harder, especially if your roof needs any kind of maintenance. So it can be as cool as it sounds to be like, oh, this house has solar, we should buy that one. It's like, it actually can create a lot of headache during the whole buying process. Maybe that wouldn't happen with the Tesla solar roof, but ultimately servicing solar panels can be just as big a headache after a certain amount of time. Thank you, Jose. Been watching since the attic days. I'm very much enjoying the Tesla. Actually, my wife is enjoying it right now because she's still off with it. What I love is within the Tesla app, I can see exactly where the car is. Oh, and she's pre-cooled it, I think. Or is it... Oh, she's getting in the car right now. That's so cool. All right, I can't... Oh, no, she's home. She's getting out of the car. My wife is home. Here, I won't show the location, but the door is open. And when she's done getting out of the car... Wait. There it goes. Hey, it knows. It's so cool. I love the Tesla app so much. Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, I've been live streaming for a while, and my wife just got home, so I want to say hi to her and see how she's doing. But I appreciate you all for all the super chats and all the new members today. My God, so generous of you. Why did I buy the standard range instead of the long range? Because the range is already really good, and it costs like $8,000 more. For one, it's a lithium iron phosphate chemistry, so you get to charge to 100% regularly. With long range, you do not. It stays at 80%. So the real daily range difference of long range and standard range is 10 miles, not 50. or 60. Secondly, on a road trip, you don't charge to 100%. So you're really only saving like an hour to 30 minutes on a road trip by spending an extra $8,000. So I'll just let my road trips take a little bit longer if it means that I save $8,000. And the lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry lasts longer, so it will age better. If you buy a long range Model 3, it has the 2170 cells with the nickel based cathodes. Those will degrade faster, so that 350 mile range will slowly become 300 miles a lot faster than my range will go down. So it's a great vehicle. I'll talk about it more on Tailosive EV. But bye. Hey. Do you want to say hi?
Not really.
Okay. She doesn't want to say hi. Sorry, Ivan. Maybe next time. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.